Hello friends, we are from group 8. So, in this video, we will share our reflections. These reflections is based on the following questions. The questions are: what's your first reactions when you received bad news? And then, when you entered a crisis, how did you feel God in new ways? So, here's our answer. During the first questions, my first reaction when I received bad news was shock and confused. So, I have experienced these situations when my uncle passed away 5 months ago. My uncle died from being bitten by a snake while he was working on his field. The situation was very unexpected for me. When I received bad news about him, I was shocked and confused. At the time, I was just speechless and couldn't do anything because the news about him is really hurt my heart. Then, go to the second questions. When I have a crisis, I try to look back at the cause of the crisis because something doesn't necessarily just happen, but it can also be caused by my mistake when making decisions. So, after I found out whether this incident happened because of purely my fault or due to an unexpected situations like the first questions I had answered before, from there I saw God in new ways. I think the crisis happened because God wanted to show me the consequence of my decisions. But if that has nothing to do with my decisions, then I think that God has other purposes that I don't know. But I believe what God wants is good for me. I think it's all about timing. I will find answer about why this crisis happened to me. So that's my reflections.
Okay, I want answer first. Question number 1. If I got a bad news, I was shocked and I was speechless. In my mind, to I tried to ask myself, make sure the information is wrong and make sure I heard a wrong information. And for the second question is I try to keep calm in front of people around me. I try to keep calm in front of my family and my friends. But my face is cannot lie. I beat up myself. I tell myself I cannot do good things. I judge myself and I said you cannot solve a problems like that. But I believe when if I get up and I try to fix a problem, fix a difficult situation, God sustain and enable me and in unexpected ways. People cannot guess God's way. I cannot guess God's way. My friends, my family cannot guess God's way because God has wonderful time for me, has a good time for me, and with His ways to me to solve a problems, to endure a crisis, to solve a difficult situation. Thank you.
When I heard a bad news for the first time, I felt very sad. I blamed God for my failure, for my bad condition, and my sad situation. I asked to God, why is this happen to me? And Sometimes I try not to blame God, but I'm too selfish, so yeah, I blame God. A few days later, after I reconciling with myself, I try to understand when I fail, when I in a bad situation, in a sad condition, that is God's plan too. So I also believe when my parents warned me about my behavior, who always blaming God for my failure, for my bad condition, my sad situation, that is intermediary from God. My parents also told me God's plan is better than your plan. My parents told me like that. Actually, God heard your prayer, but He will make it by His time. So until now, I believe that God will make a beautiful plan for me in His time.
My experience about a painful and frightening thing was when my mother was sick with kidney failure, which was in the last stage. Tudo talking too much medicine says she was young because my mother already had blood pressure and sugar. Well, at that time, I am in grade 3 high school. My reaction when I saw that, I was very sad and devastated because I was very close to my mother. When I first go to blow my tube because it was so sudden. My mother was hospital for a month. At the beginning of being admitted to the hospital, my mother was still able to blow, chat, and had the time go home because her condition had improved. When for that at home, my mother went down again, and she apologized for dialysis because she was not strong. At that time, I was also taken to the hospital for dialysis. For dialysis, after dialysis, my mother felt better even though she was very helpless because her body was very weak. After a month in the hospital, my mother had 3 dialysis time. But on the 3 dialysis time, God called it to my mother quickly. It was very sad for me, but my family and friends really comforted me at that time. Behind God called it to my mother, He gave a rainbow for my family. And until now, I have looked at God with the truth that God's plan is good. God replaced sorrow with a lot happiness. I can be more independent, be braver to do something good. And God has changed, great father and brother who care for each other. God's never-ending goodness that keep me enthusiastic and always has hope in Him. My prayer to God at this time is God will always give help to my mother and give me a long life because I really want to my father happy and want to make my father feel proud of my daughter like me when I success in the future.